The world of our earliest ancestors was not a place of comfort, but of constant threat. They walked across plains where shadows of giant predators stretched longer than their own. The roar of a lion or the sudden silence of a forest could mean the difference between life and death. With no claws to slash, no thick hide to shield them, and no speed to outrun danger, they seemed hopelessly fragile. Hunger hollowed their stomachs, cold pierced their skin, and fear became their closest companion. Yet in this harsh crucible of existence, survival was not just chance, it was the spark that would push them to imagine, to adapt, and to fight back against a world that seemed determined to erase them. A single rough stone lying among countless others became more than just a fragment of the earth. In a moment of hunger and fear, it was lifted not with foresight, but with instinct. Its jagged edge struck bone, split it open, and revealed the marrow hidden within. What seemed ordinary suddenly became extraordinary. That act lit a quiet fire in the human mind, the idea that nature itself could be shaped, bent, and harnessed. A stone was no longer just a stone. It was survival. The first sparks of invention came not with grand design, but through the rhythm of trial and error. A stone struck against another, shattering into sharp flakes that could pierce, scrape, and carve. From this simple act emerged something new, the hand axe. Its edges were not shaped by chance, but by intent. Each swing carried precision, turning fragile hands into instruments of strength. With every cut of wood, every strike against hide or bone, humanity claimed a measure of control, narrowing the gap between the hunted and the hunter. The savannah was once a stage of terror, where every shadow might hide a predator and every sound could mean death. But with stones in their grasp, humans no longer lived only in fear. A sharpened edge could crack open bones to reach rich marrow, while carcasses could be stripped swiftly before scavengers closed in. When danger struck, hands that once trembled now held weapons. Fear gave way to strategy, and survival became more than luck. For the first time, fragile humans stood not only as prey, but as predators in their own right. The first chipped stone carried a meaning far beyond its edge. It was not just a tool, it was a promise of what the mind could achieve. In that shard of rock lay foresight, the ability to imagine tomorrow and prepare for it. Each strike passed knowledge forward, from parent to child, tribe to tribe. What began as survival soon became innovation, setting humanity apart. From that moment, the path stretched forward towards spears, arrows, and the dawn of civilizations yet to come. Before the spear, the hunt was an ordeal of terror. A crude stone or heavy branch gave little comfort against the fury of a charging beast. To strike meant stepping within reach of horns, claws, or teeth, where one mistake spelled death. Every hunt was not just about food, it was about survival. Measured in heartbeats, the fear of close encounters burned deep, pushing the mind to search for safety. That fear became invention, the spark of distance weapons. As humans sought a way to strike without being struck, to live beyond the reach of predators. Around 400,000 years ago, survival gained a sharper edge. From sturdy branches, early humans carved long wooden spears. their tips hardened by fire and shaped with care. At sites like Schänningen in Germany, these ancient weapons still rest, proof of remarkable skill and planning. Balanced, straight, and built with purpose, they were no accident. For the first time, danger no longer required reckless closeness. A hunter could strike from a safer distance, pushing back the grip of fear. This small shift reshaped the hunt, laying the foundation for strategies that would carry humanity forward. Innovation refused to rest. What began as sharpened wood evolved. As humans discovered fire could change more than food it could transform. Weapons. By charring the tip of a spear and grinding it smooth, hunters made their tools harder, stronger, and far less likely to splinter on impact. Soon, stone entered the design. Sharp flakes were bound to wooden shafts, their edges slicing through thick hides and muscle with terrifying efficiency. Each step marked a leap in intelligence, not just instinct. The spear was no longer a branch of chance, but a weapon of calculation, shaping hunts into coordinated strategies for survival. The spear reshaped the hunt into something far greater than chance. No longer did survival hinge on reckless chases. Across the plains, with sharp wooden shafts in hand, hunters began to think differently. They learned to funnel herds towards swamps, narrow gorges, or pits carved into the earth. Each movement was deliberate, each shout a signal, each strike a coordinated blow. For the first time, survival wasn't just about the strongest or the fastest, it was about unity. The spear gave distance, but teamwork gave dominance. In these moments, cooperation itself became a weapon, as vital as the sharp edge of stone. The spear carried meaning far beyond sharpened wood and stone. It was the first weapon that demanded unity, a tool that could only reach its full power when wielded by many working as one. Around fires, plans were whispered. On the hunt, trust was tested. Each throw, each movement depended on coordination. Communities that mastered this bond thrived. Their strength no longer measured by individuals, but by the group itself. In this way, the spear became the first true social weapon, binding humanity together on the long road toward dominance. For countless generations, the hand-thrown spear was both lifeline and gamble. At close range, it delivered power, piercing hide and muscle with brutal force. But to strike meant stepping into danger's shadow. Hunters found themselves staring down furious bison, tusked mammoths, and predators that could close the gap. In a heartbeat, every hunt balanced triumph against tragedy. The spear had shifted fear into courage, yet its reach was bound by the arm that cast it. The hunger for distance safety measured in paces ignited the search for something greater. A breakthrough waited just beyond the horizon. Somewhere in the span between 30,000 and 20,000 years ago, a quiet revolution took shape. Hunters, weary of the dangers of closing in on prey, found a way to stretch the strength of their arms. A simple stick, carved with a notch, was joined to the spear, and with it came leverage. What seemed like magic was, in truth, physics harnessed for survival. A flick of the wrist now sent a spear soaring twice as far, twice as fast. The atlatl transformed fragile humans into hunters, whose reach rivaled the wild itself. The atlatl was more than an invention, it was a force multiplier. With it, the human arm could cast a spear farther and harder than ever before, reaching distances of 100 feet or more. Safety came with range, as hunters no longer had to gamble their lives against tusks, horns, or trampling hooves. Evidence of this weapon spans continents Europe, Asia, and the Americas, where atlatls carved from wood, bone, or antler often carried intricate designs. They were tools, yes, but also marks of pride. With every throw, survival became strategy, and distance became humanity's greatest advantage. With the atlatl in hand, the hunt became something entirely new. Creatures that once seemed untouchable mammoths with towering tusks, massive bison with pounding hooves, the armored giants of the Ice Age suddenly stood within human reach. Hunters no longer had to rush blindly into danger. They gathered in groups, each casting their spears in rapid succession, a storm of projectiles that battered prey from afar. This was more than hunting, it was coordination, timing, and trust. For the first time, humans shaped the battlefield. The atlatl gave them not just food, but mastery over beasts that had once ruled the earth. The atlatl was more than a weapon, it was a revelation. With it, humanity stepped into a new era, proving that survival did not have to rely on muscle alone. This was the first true harnessing of mechanical advantage. The simple principle that a tool could extend strength far beyond the limits of the body. That same idea would one day give rise to the bow, the wheel, and the great engines of civilization. Every cast of the atlatl was a statement. Intelligence, not brute force, would decide the future of humankind. The bow was born in silence, yet its impact thundered across human history. Around 20,000 years ago, as Ice Age winds carved the African plains, hunters searched for an edge that would free them from the weight of stone-tipped spears. From flexible wood and a strand of twisted fiber, they shaped a weapon unlike anything before. It was light enough to carry through dense forests, yet powerful enough to pierce prey from a distance. Yew, elm, or acacia became living extensions of human will, bending and snapping back with coiled strength. The arrow, slender and balanced, carried sharpened stone or hardened bone, transforming human intent into lethal precision. With the bow, hunters gained what spears and atlatls could not always give silence. No longer did survival depend on chasing prey until exhaustion broke them down. Now, a hunter could wait, hidden in the brush, heart steady, breath controlled, until the right moment arrived. A single pull of the string stored energy in wood and sinew, and when released, that energy surged forward, propelling an arrow with speed and accuracy unimaginable in earlier ages. It was not just a weapon, it was the marriage of patience and power, of calculation and instinct. This invention reshaped the rhythm of survival. The bow allowed smaller hunting parties to bring down swift gazelles, wary antelopes, and even predators that once stalked them. Communities could depend on fewer. Hunters providing more food, changing the structure of daily life. Fire, stone, and spear had already lifted humanity beyond mere survival. But the bow revealed something new. The ability to harness stored energy, to make time itself an ally. In that moment, humankind took a leap not only in technology, but in imagination. The bow gave hunters something no spear or atlatl could silence. A drawn string made no sound, and the arrow cut the air in near silence. From thickets, trees, or tall grass, a hunter could remain unseen, releasing death without warning. This new stealth made the wild less dangerous, shifting the balance toward fragile humans. Fast deer, darting rabbits, even sudden birds became targets. The bow meant fewer exhausting chases and more successful hunts. Survival was no longer built only on speed or courage. It rested on patience, accuracy, and quiet control. With every silent release, humans reshaped their relationship with the wild. The bow carried human ingenuity beyond the hunt and into the battlefield. No longer were fights decided only by muscle and courage. Now distance itself became a weapon. A single archer could release a storm of arrows before the enemy ever closed the gap, turning strength into vulnerability. On ridges, behind walls, or from hidden ground, defenders gained an edge that brute force could not overcome. Battles shifted into contests of patience, positioning, and deadly timing. This was the beginning of true long-range combat, where survival hinged on precision and foresight. With each arrow loosed, war itself was forever changed. The bow transformed, power from strength to skill. Hunters no longer relied on brute force. Survival demanded patience, focus, and steady hands. Each draw, each measured aim required discipline, timing, and control of breath. Small game fell quickly, and coordinated hunters could take down larger animals with precision. Archaeological finds reveal arrowheads made for cutting, piercing, or holding fast. Every design purposeful, every arrow intentional. Precision became a weapon stronger than speed or muscle. The future belonged to those who could master their tools, control their focus, and strike with thought and accuracy. In the hands of humans, patience became deadly and skill conquered the wild. The bow and arrow were not just tools, they were a testament to human foresight. A hunter crouched in silence, muscles tense, eyes scanning for movement, could hold potential energy in the string, waiting for the precise moment to release it. In that instant, patience became power, and planning turned into survival. These weapons reflected more than skill, they revealed intelligence, the ability to anticipate, calculate, and act from a distance. Tribes who mastered the bow prospered, hunting efficiently and defending strategically. Each arrow symbolized the triumph of thought over brute force, showing that humans could bend time, space, and fate to their will. The story of human weapons begins with simple stones, jagged and unshaped, lifted in moments of fear and a necessity. Over centuries, these crude tools evolved into crafted instruments of power and precision. Each generation observed, experimented, and improved, sharpening edges, carving wood, hardening tips in fire. Knowledge traveled across clans and families, connecting survival with instruction. Weapons became more than objects. They became lessons etched into human culture. Proof that progress depended not on lone strength, but on the ability to learn, share, and build upon the discoveries of those who came before. Each innovation built upon what came before, a chain stretching across millennia. The hand axe, first shaped by instinct and trial, opened the door to deliberate hunting. From its sharp edge emerged the spear, extending reach and safety. That spear, combined with leverage, became the atlatl, transforming human strength into distance and precision. Finally, the bow arrived, storing energy and reward for patience. Every step reshaped not only survival, but the human mind itself, teaching planning, foresight, and strategy. With each tool, humans claimed mastery over prey, predators, and the wild, widening the gulf between themselves and the forces that once ruled them. Weapons were no longer merely tools for survival. They became symbols of power and status. Tribes, armed with superior spears or bows, could control hunting grounds, defend resources, and assert dominance over rivals. Each arrow or spear carried more than practical purpose. It represented skill, experience, and prestige. A master archer or spearmaker held influence equal to the hunters they fed. In this way, weapons shaped both unity and rivalry, forging identities, hierarchies, and the earliest struggles for supremacy, where strength was measured not only by arms, but by strategy and mastery. By the end of the Stone Age, humans stood on the brink of something greater than mere survival. Spears, bows, and arrows were no longer just tools. They were extensions of knowledge, cooperation, and ambition. Fragile bodies had become formidable forces, capable of shaping their world. Each weapon carried lessons learned, strategies honed, and communities united. This era marked more than hunting success. It laid the blueprint for civilization itself, proving that intelligence, ingenuity, and shared purpose could transform humans into masters of the landscapes they once feared.